Apocalypse is essentially the first mutant to ever come to existence, and is the progenitor for the rest of the mutant kind. Having lived for several millennia, he is essentially the Thanos of the X-Men. So what sets this ancient and powerful mutant apart from the others? Let's find out. To understand what makes him so powerful, we have to first look at what he wants. After all, a villain is only as good as his reason for destroying the Earth. Without delving too much into his origin story, Apocalypse was the first mutant on Earth, and because of his powers became something of a god in the eyes of the human population. To further his powers, he tried to transfer his essence into the body of another mutant with regenerative healing, but it went sideways. He wasn't as big a cult figure as he thought he was, and some of his worshippers destroyed his pyramid during the transfer process, essentially entombing for several millennia. Fast forward to the 1980s, and his tomb was rediscovered and his body exhumed, waking him from his slumber. Seeing how pathetic humans had become without his guidance, he sought to destroy all of humanity so that he could recreate society the way he wanted. So a villain worse than Thanos, with the powers of a god. So what are Apocalypse's powers? Well, there's a lot. More than we can cover in the duration of a single video, so we'll narrow it down to his powers from the films. One of the biggest abilities that is exclusive to Apocalypse is power augmentation. Like a god, he can bestow the peak level mastery of powers to any mutant he wants. This means that they'll have greater control over their powers that pushes the boundaries of their limits. His power bestowals were not meant for the X-Men, but for his 4 horsemen, but the X-Men got a slice of the cake. He gave Archangel biometallic wings, for example, which was a dramatic improvement from the organic ones and were far more formidable. Magneto's magnetic range was exacerbated to a global level, and he was able to shift the Earth's magnetic fields to devastating effects. But the best example of this augmentation comes from his interaction with Charles Xavier. By amplifying telepathy, Charles was able to send a telepathic message to every human on Earth in their native language, without the help of Cerebro. The mutants get to keep their masterful powers, even if Apocalypse dies. Matter manipulation. Apocalypse can transmute matter into anything he wants at a molecular level. He used this to give Magneto his new metallic helmet, but on a grander scale, he was able to liquefy solid surfaces and turn it into a gelatinous mold to trap his foes, fusing them inside walls or the ground. Sort of like flies getting trapped in honey. He can materialize a blade out of particles of sand, disintegrate a gun, and literally dissolve the ground under people's feet. Telekinesis is also on the list. I know it borders on matter manipulation, but he used it distinctively in the movies, which is why I believe it warrants a mention. He was able to use this to hurl immense boulders into his enemies, and used it to create a sandstorm with which he destroyed Cairo. This is also how he was able to get his enchanted pyramid constructed within seconds. Apocalypse was able to learn vast amounts of information in a matter of seconds. When he woke from his slumber, he extracted data from cable television, which quickly granted him reserves of knowledge and a grasp of the English language in a matter of mere seconds. Force field generation is another ability that he inherently has. These force fields are strong enough to withstand the brunt of the storm's lightning and Cyclops' optic blasts. It also makes short work of Magneto's projectiles, which essentially lose all of their momentum the moment they come into contact with it. On the topic of field generations, he is also able to command portals at will to take him wherever he wants to be in the universe. Besides all of that, he comes equipped with the standard supervillain package, namely super strength, a genius level intellect, and superhuman durability. Also, being a demigod of sorts, he is practically immortal. If ever his body needs another vessel, he can transfer his essence and his soul to another more capable body. This ritual needs to take place in the enchanted Egyptian pyramid and requires a special altar to be carried out. But even the Apocalypse has its weaknesses. Having been dormant for the past 5,000 years, and not having the time to switch his worn-out body for another more practical one, he is very vulnerable without his armor. If someone breaches his armor, he's practically a dead man. Apocalypse is a pure megalomaniac. He is relentless in his pursuit to have the world in the order that he knew it to be, with him as the supreme leader. He was undoubtedly beguiled with the idea that people used to worship him, and in a way wanted to grant himself that prestige again. he is ruthlessly manipulative, and had exploited Magneto because they shared similar ideologies and created many other followers from among the mutants. Any generation he came to be in, he would always recruit 4 horsemen from among his most noble followers. War, pestilence, famine, and death were always by his side. The extent of his power also blinded him to the truth. When he awoke, he had a feigned understanding that he was still the most powerful mutant in the world and could do as he pleased. This wasn't the case, as with a little help from the Phoenix Force, Jean Grey was able to harness unprecedented energy, which eventually was too much for him to bear. He was incinerated to dust by the Force and eliminated for good. Despite being defeated, it took the joint effort of all of the X-Men and the Phoenix Force to take him down. But hey, apocalypse averted. That brings us to the end of this video. If you enjoyed, be sure to smash that like button, and as always, thanks for watching.